Shai Gilgeous Alexander is one of the best NBA players of this generation, with the league MVP, multiple historic seasons, an NBA championship, and finals MVP. SGA is arguably a top 10 point guard of all time, and by the time this video is published, he'll probably win his second MVP award of his career. You would think with all these accomplishments on his resume, SGA would be a top pick in his draft class, but you would be wrong, since in the 2018 draft, Shai would be picked 11th overall by the Charlotte Hornets, as 10 NBA teams decided to pass up on him and draft someone else, which, looking back at it now, I think is just completely foolish. Unfortunately, some people thought otherwise. So here are those 10 teams, why they picked someone else over the MVP, and where those players are now in their career. The first pick in the 2018 draft was Deandre Ayton, who was selected by the Phoenix Suns. Ayton was a 7'1" center out of Arizona. He was an elite defender and rebounder who averaged 20 and 2 blocks a game during his time in college. The Phoenix Suns decided to draft him mainly because he was a 7-footer, which apparently by their standards means that a player is NBA ready. In his first year, Ayton had a decent season for the Suns. He averaged 16 points and 10 rebounds a game. But since then, he hasn't gotten really any better, as he's currently playing for the LA Lakers, scoring just 12 points a game, and he's gotten worse every season since 2023. Mind you, this man was getting paid $133 million, and all the Suns got was an average NBA player performer. The Sacramento Kings had the second pick in the draft, and they chose Marvin Bagley. Now, Bagley was quite a hyped up prospect in the year prior to the draft. He averaged 20 points and 11 rebounds a game at Duke, and he was extremely athletic, provided that he was also 6'10". From the Kings' perspective, I could understand why they decided to choose him over Shai. I mean, who wouldn't want a near 7-footer who's insanely athletic and is a double-double machine? And in his first season for the Kings, he played pretty well, averaging 15 and 7 a game and also having 19 double-doubles in his rookie year, which is still the second most all-time by a rookie reserve. Although his first year was amazing, he wouldn't live up to draft expectations, having very little progress throughout the years, becoming a defensive liability, and is now just a rotation player for the Dallas Mavericks. The Atlanta Hawks had the third overall pick in the draft, in which they selected Luka Doncic. Now, I don't know how this guy wasn't drafted number 1. Before he got drafted, Luka was already a professional basketball player in the EuroLeagues, playing for Real Madrid. At just 18 years old, Luka won a EuroLeague MVP and a EuroLeague title. This was a great pick by the Atlanta Hawks, but they shockingly decided to trade him mid-draft to the Dallas Mavericks, where he would dominate the league and become one of the best players in the NBA. But Dallas wasn't so smart either, since after 7 years, they traded him to the Lakers in what is arguably the worst trade I think we've ever seen in sports. To this day, Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the NBA and is a once-in-a-lifetime generational talent that was thrown around to multiple teams like a piñata. Now for the fourth overall pick, the Memphis Grizzlies decided to go with a 6'10" power forward out of Michigan named Jaren Jackson Jr. The Grizzlies wanted to pick Jaren due to his offensive versatility and his elite defensive skills. In his first 5 seasons in the league, Jackson was the second best option on the Grizzlies, just behind Ja Morant. He would average 20 points per game and win Defensive Player of the Year in 2023. However, in the 2025-2026 season, Memphis would trade him to the Utah Jazz for pennies on the dollar, in which since then, he's only played 3 games for the Jazz. The fifth pick in the draft was Trae Young, who would be drafted by the Dallas Mavericks, but would later be traded for Luka Doncic on the same night to the Atlanta Hawks. You could argue that Trae Young should have been a top 3 pick in the draft, since during his time in college, Trae recorded one of the best college seasons in NCAA history, averaging 27 points and 9 assists a game while being named Big 12 Freshman of the Year. In Atlanta, Trae Young became the Hawks' superstar. He led the franchise to their first conference finals appearance in over 6 years while being a 4-time All-Star. However, during this year of the NBA season, Trae Young was traded by the Hawks to the Washington Wizards. He's kind of fallen off in the past couple years due to his awful defense, and he's just been frequently injured a lot this season. He'll probably also not make the playoffs for a very long time, considering the franchise he's currently playing for. However, at least the Hawks got a superstar, unlike the Orlando Magic, as with the 6th overall pick, they drafted Mo Bamba. He was a 7-footer coming out of Texas and had a song literally named after him before he was even drafted in the NBA. I don't understand what teams were thinking during this draft class. Just because the player is 7 feet tall doesn't mean he's good at basketball, because during his first year in the NBA, Bamba would go on to average just 6 points and 5 rebounds a night, and after 5 mediocre seasons with the Magic, he would bounce from team to team, never really improving or developing his skills. Today, Mo Bamba isn't on an NBA team. He did kind of play for the Raptors, but then he immediately got waived because they didn't really see much value in him. It's kind of unfortunate that most of these teams traded the player they picked up on draft night in just 5 years or less, including the Chicago Bulls, who used their 7th pick in the draft to select a 6'10" center out of Duke named Wendell Carter Jr. The Bulls wanted to draft Wendell because they saw that he had extremely high potential as a versatile defensive center and could rebound the ball really well. Although he was considered quite average as a player for Duke in college, Carter is considered a quality big man in the NBA, as throughout his entire career, he has never averaged under less than 10 points a game in a season besides once back in 2025. Today, Wendell Carter is the starting center for the Orlando Magic and is a solid contributor next to All-Star Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. The Cleveland Cavaliers were next in line, and with their 8th pick, they selected a 6'3" guard named Collin Sexton. Sexton was a fast point guard who had really good defensive skills and was really athletic. Cleveland wanted him because he was young and would help fill the gap without LeBron James in the lineup. Today, Sexton plays for the Chicago Bulls, averaging a solid 15 points a game. Although those numbers aren't like SGA, it's definitely not the worst pick in the draft by a franchise. I don't really blame Cleveland for picking Sexton, but I mean, they could have had the MVP. The New York Knicks were up next, and with their 9th overall pick, they selected Kevin Knox out of Kentucky. He was a 6'9" forward who was versatile and could play almost any position. You know, New York could have chose the MVP, but instead, they went with a guy who averaged just 7 points on bad efficiency and is now currently not even in the league anymore. Now, the final team that passed up on SGA was the 76ers, and with their 10th pick, they chose Mikal Bridges. The Sixers wanted the kid from Villanova due to his defense and crazy wingspan of 7 feet. To this day, Mikal Bridges is a solid 3-and-D player, and he's played 638 straight games, which is kind of insane. Unfortunately, the Sixers traded Bridges to the Phoenix Suns on the same night, all for just a 2nd-round pick. I don't understand why most of these teams decided to trade the player they drafted. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. None of those 10 teams have won a championship ever since that 2018 draft. Just imagine if they had drafted Shai Gilgeous Alexander. NBA history would be completely different.